And joining us now to talk more about that is North Carolina Congressman, co-chairman of the GOP Doctors Caucus, and member of the House Veterans Affairs and House Ways and Means Committees, Greg Murphy. Congressman, it's good to see you. Thanks very much for being here. I'm very puzzled as to understanding why it would be that the Democrats would promise to either, blow off this bill, not agree to this bill in terms of getting to the origins of COVID-19. Why not?
Well, Maria, it somewhat continues their theme of deceit of the American people. Whether they feel it's going to hijack the cause away from their climate change and their racial divide, it's anybody's guess. The fact is that this lab was a leaky lab. We have something called a BLS-4 lab, which is the most highly secure lab that does with these most highly dangerous contagions. And this is what they were doing. They were doing gain-of-function research in this lab, and all points point to this, and the fact it got out and leaked. And the fact that Fauci and the colleagues at NIH in the first days of this whole pandemic thought that might be the case, and then all of a sudden they realized it could point back to them for funding this lab, and they changed the theory, is just another aspect where Fauci was lying about this, and then the Democrats continue to lie about this. As to why they would oppose this, it just is beyond comprehension.
It really is. I mean, are you for America or not? Do you want to protect the Communist Party and its provocations or not? I mean, it's incredible to me. And at the same time, also incredible is the fact that this president wants to continue to spend money, even in the face of $31.5 trillion in debt and the debt ceiling needing to go higher. The president is now asking Congress for $1.6 billion to fight COVID fraud. Some experts estimate the U.S. has lost more than $25 billion in fraud. Biden's labor secretary nominee, Julie Su, was California's labor secretary during the COVID pandemic. And on her watch, the state paid out $31 billion of unemployment benefits to scammers. And Congressman, now he wants this money to investigate fraud, even as Kevin McCarthy's begging him to come up with ideas to stop spending. Where was the fraud in government during COVID, first of all?
Well, Maria, the fraud in government was the fact that this particular administration and Democrats as a whole have never seen a program that they did tonight. And when you flood the market, which is what was done with all of this COVID money, when you flood the market, I'm sorry, human nature is as it is. We're going to have people that are going to look at avenues to try to steal this. In Ways and Means, we calculated this up to $400 billion in unemployment fraud. And amazingly, our House Democrats didn't want us to investigate this stuff. We need to get the money back that was overpaid, not only overpaid, but really fraudulently taken. And why the Democrats don't want us to do this is beyond me. And for Biden then to jump in here at the last minute and say, oh, yeah, fraud occurred, and I want us to find that out, merely is riding the political train and just doing things that are politically expedient. We've asked to do this all along. First of all, as both you and I know, the money shouldn't have been spent in the amounts that it was. And the fact that he continues in a world that absolutely just does not exist is not surprising to me at all.
Yeah, and then there's this movement to stop the president from mandating fiduciaries consider ESG policies. Now, the president is expected to veto this bill, which would block that. What are your thoughts on this whole of government approach toward ESG? The president wants to force managers to use ESG, even if their investors are unaware of how their money is being spent.
It goes back really to if you step back and look at it, what does the religion of wokeness mean? Now that this administration and leftist Democrats, progressive Democrats, have actually denied our Judeo-Christian Christian heritage, I think it gets back even more primal to this, that this is their religion. Their wokeness is their religion, and this is the way to promote it. And now through government, through your finances, through anything, in hospital boards, in boardrooms, in financial institutions, any way they can to proselytize, if you were, the wokeness that they have. And now they're trying to get it into your pocketbooks and try to push that agenda. If you're a money manager, you have one responsibility, and that's a fiduciary responsibility to your client to try to provide the best returns possible, not to promote a wokeness religion.
Well, Congressman, I mean, look, is this the way Joe Biden feels, or is he being directed to do this by the Democrats? I mean, you're the chairman of the Doctors Caucus. What can you tell us about Joe Biden's capacity?
I think this in presidency will go down as the greatest puppeteer act of all time. I don't have any doubt, and I don't have, this is a belief, it's obviously not an objective scientist, that Joe Biden is being puppeted by the forces behind him, by the far left, by the Bernie movement, by the Elizabeth Warren movement, by the Obama movement. He's absolutely just a puppet as a president and being told what to say and to continue with the party line. This is not the Joe Biden of the past. And so is he there mentally? He actually has a few times where he is, other times that he's just word salad, just like Kamala, where you just can't understand things. Is he fit to be president? I don't believe so. Is he fit to run again? Absolutely not.
All right. We will leave it there. Congressman, thanks very much for being here this morning. Congressman Greg Murphy joining us. Have a good day.